I'm so thankful of all the participants to be joining a newbie who does not know anything. Maybe just a little bit of painting. Was it Degas who said that painting is difficult when you know how to do it? Was it him? I truly believe. I had been painting for 30 years, happily painting, always very satisfied with my work and always thinking that, oh, I know how to paint. But since past few days, when I think I do, uh, I'm in the process of learning. It's so hard. Okay, I'm also going to uh, start recording. I am using a limited palette today. All my palettes are really dirty, even this one. So there are some colors here: ultramarine, blue, alizarin red, cadmium yellow, white, and that's about all. Um, and if you look at, let me pull up the painting, the reference photo. Yep. And maybe enlarge it so that I can see it. Okay. So for today's reference, we have two figures, and our focus is on their expressions. Um, Granddaughter enjoying Nana's company. The composition is simple. Let me draw it out, although I have already, but to show you how the composition is so strong in this one. And let me know if you are having some difficulty or something. Okay, so we have two figures here. The composition is brilliant. Just two characters, the way they are sitting on a couch, not straight up but diagonal. So that diagonal in composition adds movement and energy, which we see in their reflections here. I'm going to block out my darks with the dirty mud I make with blue and red. And it's not any formula, and I don't really recommend. Blocking out can be done with some bright colors too, with orange, with, yeah, let's do some orange yellow. I have added some yellow into it. So when we say block out, that means we are like, what I do, I squint my eye and I look at, I split my vision in three grades of tones, or you can call it values. And these, well, here the darker tone is created by their clothes. Let me get a bigger brush. The clothes are adding a nice design. In the first layer of blocking, we use little pigment and more oil, just like watercolor. Suppose they were sitting and their clothes are, there is a gap in between this dark. I would like to connect it and let the dark flow into a continuous design. And why do I like to block in my darks? Because the dark areas are where we don't get light. And, it is so deceiving that if there is a slight variation of tones in the darker area, It just appears to be very light. It's not, it's not advisable to add lighter tones in the darker area. So I like to start with the face. Let me draw the features. I remember when I was younger in college, um, we have very traditional method of teaching in Pakistan, and our teachers. I was always interested in. Let me take off. Oh, ugly hand. Ah. Yeah, I was always interested in faces, portraits, and our teachers used to discourage us to start with the face. They said, "No, then you will lose your interest in the painting. Leave it for the end." But I think when you start a painting, you are, most excited about it, and you have more energy to keep going on. So in oil, well, this is also a general rule to start painting from the dark and then move on to the light. Good idea to use larger brush for wider spaces. Although oil paints are very forgiving, and if you make any mistake, you can always go back and correct it. But I take my oil paints just like my watercolor. I don't want to. I try not to make any mistake, and I feel that it loses the richness if you keep going over an area again and again, especially for correction. Only put down the darks when you are sure. I get, well, I got the design here. Now I'm going to use palette knife to mix my skin tone, which will be okay. So I'm going to mix some red and white to begin with. Mix plenty of red and white, and it's not just pure red and pure white. I'm mixing it on the already mixed puddle, which I made with red and blue, which is ultramarine and earth. And then remember I said I added a little yellow here. So this portion had more yellow. I'm mixing my red on it. In nature, there is no like pure out of the tube color. And you can never match the same color in nature. So Be flexible with your mixing too.
Excuse me, what color you mix for this dark color?
This dark,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just ultramarine blue and cadmium red,
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
right? So when I was working on it, and then later I said I add little yellow. That was cadmium yellow.
Okay, okay.
So this
Thank you.
is much darker. When I mixed the cadmium yellow, it was kind of goldenish color. I mixed a red onto that and white. So it is only cadmium, red, and white. The dirty kind of red and white because it was mixed over the pool of color that I had. So you see that's pretty much closer to the natural skin color. You can even paint the face green if that's the light and if that's your color choice. And if it is, and if it goes with the mood of the model. I I don't think I ever used brown in for the skin tone. There is no need. First of all, there's no need of using brown. Um, well, I do know that some artists do use burnt sienna, but I would rather mix some blue with orange. I like to use orange on faces, which I don't have today. I'm not using it. This is a much softer brush, Rosemary. Uh, I like using it for drawing and not really for painting. I cannot work with this softer one. Oh, with thicker paint. Ah, well, this was dirty brush. It already has some blue in it. So let's go and do the darker areas, middle tones. The photograph is not too clear. It doesn't matter. That's all. I clean my brush, which is very bad. Don't do that. Don't do what I'm doing. The center of the face is usually warmer. Okay, there's paint on my hands. I hope I don't get it on my painting. So I'm using more red on the nose. As it goes out, you get more reflections from around. So maybe, although I don't see any reflection on the chin, that she's wearing lighter color sweater, which I am going to show a tiny bit, just because I like doing it. And also it kind of separates the jaw, which you which I like to blend the jawline into the neck and not draw any harsh line for it. I'm not using any medium and only my paints. But if they are dry, you can use linseed oil or walnut oil. You can get the features later on. I'm keeping the same colors. Just laying down the dots. With some shadow underneath the nose, unless you have light from below. It continues, the same shadow continues on the lip, sides of the lips. Okay, now we still have to do the face. The light is actually the light. There must be multiple sources of light, as I do see nose on this man's nose, and also the light is coming from the left. When that happens, you need to decide which one are you going to follow, and also there are no rules. You can follow both, and sometimes both the lights have different temperature or color. You can also emphasize on that. Painting method of, all these things, all these decisions are very flexible, and it all depends on uh, what you are focusing on, and well, what will make it easier for you to decide what to do. Um, Check to see if it goes with your composition or your message or what you want to say. If it is helping, you can take it and choose to do that. And if it is distracting, just leave it. Even if you can see a beautiful color in front of you and you are so tempted to use it, main interest. But if it is distracting, just don't pick it and don't use it only because it is a pretty color. It looks so appealing. As I move toward the darks, which is underneath the chin, I am mixing alizarin red instead of the cadmium red. Alizarin is not a jumpy kind of color. It recedes. When I want that area to pop out more, I will be using cadmium red. But for shadows, alizarin is best. some shadows underneath the nose. We can, when you're painting portrait or anything, I should say, disregard the outline or the drawing. If there is shadow underneath the nose, your stroke can start from the nose and go down. It leaves much softer effect than restricting yourself with outlines. So alizarin and ultramarine to make dark, dark, dark. Well, I'm not going to touch the um, tea yet until I give a little wash. And for tea, um, not to treat them individually, but combine all teeth and look at the angle and the pattern that the edge makes. Again, don't have to really take the pattern, but if there is anything unique about that sitter or model, then you can take down that. It helps with resemblance. So teeth are, it's good to have white teeth, but not in painting. For painting, it is the same color as your skin. You may you can add really tiny bit of some other color. Could be ultramarine, just a little touch of that, or viridian green. Again, it all depends on the light. I have only stained my canvas for the tea. Okay, so now I can go into the lips. More than the features, when painting a portrait, even if it is a commissioned portrait, my focus is more on the expressions rather than resemblance. I try to keep the drawing uh, as accurate as possible. That that helps me get the resemblance. But my focus is the personality or the expression of the sitter. I don't like to finish one part in whatever type of painting I'm doing, whether it's a portrait or a still life, and try to work overall. I might be using the same color that I have mixed for face on some jacket, maybe. That creates harmony and unifies the entire painting in. Okay. My scraper. Oh. I cannot paint without my scraper. But if I do something wrong, I can scrape it off rather than using a rag. I like to let it go across the outline for a much softer edge. more brighter, radiant red here to reflect the mood. When you pick up your paint, you look at the palette and see where your brush is going. I didn't mean to pick that darker one. Okay, this is the medium. So when I'm painting, I am squinting also. In fact, I'm always squinting. It simplifies the tone. I don't see any detail. Even if you plan to add the details later, your initial painting does not need to have that. All that I am saying is just a general practice that I do. I may not be doing it myself sometimes. So it is, all these decisions are very flexible. It's the painting that helps you decide. It's the direction of painting that will lead you, help you make those decisions. Okay, her cheeks have more light, and you do get higher cheek when you're laughing, so I'm going to take that. Maybe much more light here. And try to have a nice smile on your face when you are painting smiling faces. That helps too. Okay. Scraper. Texture is also important. Um, you know, when making a painting, get the variety of color, tones, and texture. Um, Avoid having a thick impasto throughout the painting. Um, Again, unless it is part of your theme. But sometimes too much busy texture hurts your eyes. It becomes too chaotic. So I'm taking off the light, and it will be easier for me to go over it again when the layer is thin. I'm taking that off. because it, at this point, for this expression, eyebrow is also important to see the angle of the eyebrow, how it changes with laughter, how the eyes, uh, most eyes are closed when laughing. And I love those songs. Until I finish my eyes, um, she might look squinted or blind. Don't be discouraged when you see those things. As you add more strokes and more details, you'll get the expression. Now, coming to the pattern. Hmm. Again, avoid one straight, regular outline for that. The broken line is would convey more than a regular straight line. Okay, so far. We'll come to it later on. Squint and follow the pattern created with tones. Don't follow the, don't get restricted with the outline. Drop it in here. Look at the angle of teeth. Oops. And the angle of upper lip. Are they both going parallel, or look at the negative space? Squint, 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 squint. And we will see. Okay. So it's more on this angle. . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . . . . . . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . .
。
Let my spatula do some of the mixing. Else it will be very thick. I don't want it to be too thick. You know, the reason I don't like thick is at places when I'm working is because I cannot handle it. So if you can handle it, go ahead. Something. I mean, there's no rule.
Excuse me, Durre.
Huh.
You use the tool is try to make the layer thinner, right? And in
This
order
tool?
later, yeah, you mentioned that just you want let the layer flat little bit. Later you can add on something, right? Or
Yeah.
or
You
you
can.
want some texture from that tool.
No, I don't use it for texture, although these um, what is this, silicone tools are mostly for acrylic textures, but I use them to scrape off whatever works, even some plastic card, if it works with scraping off. I also use the tool for baking, the silicone spatulas. All these things are helpful in scraping off. And see now, I don't have thick layer of paint around the teeth. It would be easier for me to work on it. Otherwise, the paint from the first layer, it keeps mixing up.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, especially when painting portraits, there are details you do need to show. Unlike in landscape, these details need to be quite accurate, especially when you are painting for someone with a commission. You can even use your finger if you want to take it off.
So the purpose is just for moving out some pain,
Yes,
wiping out some pain.
that's right.
Okay, okay.
But then do you go back in with a lighter color or are you leaving it like that?
No, well, some areas might be left as it is, but not necessarily light. I can put dark color also.
Light. So I was wondering if
Right.
you're going to leave it like that or if you're actually going to paint
It
in
does help. Right. It does help with the highlight. I usually go and I add some, but since the area is already covered, I don't have to be very careful with putting on the highlight. I can leave some as it is with.
Yeah, it works beautifully, especially the
Yeah,
model to give
it
a
does help.
shape that space.
Yeah, it does help a lot. The scraping makes it easier. Again, I'm thinking of another teacher of ours from university. He would not let us smudge, even with pastels, and he would say it's a shortcut. See, I am now unlearning all those that I have really practiced religiously. Um, it's okay to go for shortcuts. If scraping helps in mixing, then scrape off. There is no end to what you have to offer. So the shortcut is not that you are being lazy. It's that you not need to keep that energy for other things that you may want to experiment. Or else I need another life. We'll get to the hair later. And when when painting her head, I need to focus on the fact that she is actually leaning, her head is leaning against the sofa. So I need to do that, which is not hard. We'll discuss that later. So more dark here. And also when painting, usually my head appears bigger. It's because I like to chisel it off from the edges. Um, it might look bigger right now, which is fine. You can use as many colors in portraits as you want and make them color. Okay, mixing cadmium red into my bottle. Little cadmium red and little alizarin crimson for the lips. Yeah, sometimes you can experiment using different colors which are not in nature and use them in your portraits, like maybe emerald green face. Look at your model like a black and white photograph. That's a nice exercise too. But right now I am working in limited palette, keeping more excitement. Okay, his nose is more. I'm going to exaggerate the pink of his nose. You know, you do see that artists exaggerate the colors. So can they see different? Can they see more colors, or do they do it deliberately? I think they do train themselves to see colors. Most of the time, those colors are imaginary, but at some point it becomes your habit. And as compared to the nose, the cheek, the light on the cheek would be more yellowish. So I have added yellow. It's the same color as the nose, but with more yellow in it. And a bit greenish as we go toward the hairline. So adding some ultramarine and yellow, more ultramarine, more ultramarine. Okay, so this is kind of greenish here. So this is what I had in mind when I said exaggerating color. Okay. And I'm going to repeat the same greenish tone. Now this, okay, but a bit darker. So you see these are kind of darker puddle, middle tone puddle. So that's how I'm working. I will be adding the ultramarine into my middle puddle for underneath the chin area. I'm going to repeat that green tone underneath this tone. Also, the direction of um, strokes also count. So the neck is slightly slanting, and that's how my strokes are going. And again, that's not a rule. It can go the other way too. These things, as I said, it should work very freely. The strokes should convey the movement you want your viewers to follow. I'm going to repeat the same. Green, it's coming from this side. These are some exaggerations that you are welcome to. Okay, I'm going to have more light on the left side of the teeth. On my palette, this color looks much darker, but this is what I made for the teeth. You do be very careful when painting teeth. The value is much deceiving because of the dark around it. We always mix more, much lighter color for teeth than actually. So where the teeth are never straight. So where I see a longer one, I like to mix, let that stroke enter the lip area and blend. We'll get to that later. The area around the lips. Warmer light here. Underneath the chin, it's a little warmer because, well, not always, but the reason if you see it warmer, it's usually because, again, the skin from the neck, bounces that when the light from the skin area bounces onto the other part of the skin area, it gives kind of warmer light. When I say light, it doesn't mean it's too light. It is just a 1 degree lighter than that area. I'm going to compare the value here of the lip and the chin and see which one is darker and which one is. Okay, it's a good idea to tilt your head and see if you're, yeah, it is good. I wasn't sure if I had uh, painted her head crooked because of the tilt. Now this one can go here. Deal with it later. And okay, so I'm going to now cover the dark area, which is the jacket. In this one, and for this particular one, the dark jacket and is helping me with my design. So when painting that, again, my strokes, I'm trying to keep it along with his gesture, of course, the way he's sitting relaxed. Alizarin with ultramarine, no white yet. Step back. Generally, the dark area is painted with thinner paint, and as you go toward the lighter area, you can increase the texture of your pastel. Into that, mixing all my puddles together for my dog, which I usually do. Good to repeat the color from the skin onto the clothes. I'm going to continue with the middle, warmer kind of um, middle tone first. So mixing ultramarine, alizarin, and lots of white. My brush was not a clean one, so it already had the darks from the jacket. So I'm mixing white onto that dark. Bigger. Oh, that's a lot. So that's, you take a little bit of color, but it makes the puddle much more. It adds a lot to your puddle. So make sure you pick tiny bit of the amount to mix into your puddle. Again, this area is the darker side of your jacket or sweater. I'm going to keep that dark and keep the flow. Whatever you are painting, whether portrait or landscape, keep the flow going. See, I switched from his clothes to her, and I am not letting the outline, distract my flow. Although I have changed the tone and color on my brush, but I am following the flow or the pattern that I have in mind. where you want the form to recede, I'll be using ultramarine. Oh no, so alizarin crimson, and where I want it more prominent, um, I will be using cadmium red, and I have the same blue for both. I like to paint with the tip of the brush. So when I mix the color, I keep the color just on the tip of my brush. That way, somehow I see that way it your paint doesn't get very much. Okay, I'm going to pick some yellow from the mixed area. Add a little warmth. My mixing tool. Stripping off because I will be coming back to this area. I like the canvas to show through the light area. That's the reason I don't usually tint my canvas. Light, shiny light on the dark, on the covered canvas or tinted canvas. But I feel that I'm usually not able to get it when it's tinted. So if you can do it, go ahead, do it. It's not something that's a rule. But this would be my light side, which is just cadmium yellow and white. Again, adding some skin color. Her clothes too. So here, her folds are going to help with that flow. You don't have to be faithful to the folds of the reference photo, but keep the flow of your painting in mind. Sometimes it's okay to use dirty brush. So this was for my skin, and I have used in the same puddle here for the lights on the sweater near her face. the direction of strokes are going along with the direction of the pole here. So I feel that I need some more dark, which I will use later. I'm going to mix the same dark I mixed here, ultramarine blue with alizarin. It's a lot more alizarin. You don't have to make a continuous line. Should I or should I not do the necklace? You want me to do the necklace or not? Do it if you ask me to. If you didn't.
Please do. Please do.
Okay. So this necklace is just adding a little dark. Same ultramarine and alizarin with, I added little yellow to it. You can't really see the necklace, so I don't have to do the detail, but it is putting a fresh, heavy pressure on the fold, which might be helpful. Okay. It was actually starting here, but never mind. It's done. Now this dark has more of the skin color. And here too, the same skin color. We will be using more light. So you don't have to give the entire detail of this fold, only some indication of what is it called, turtleneck or something, the kind of fetish is wearing. Okay. So compare these two. This would be toned down a little bit. Hmm. And maybe the same color to hit the zipper. Add white and ultramarine for that part of the zipper. No, just to show you how the values work. Now this one here, I need to show you. Let me make it darker, much dark. Aha! Well, I didn't mean to make it that dark. Anyway, so now this is quite dark here, but if I touch my dark area here, it is still lighter here, light enough to show the buttons, and which we can show the shine. On those buttons. Okay, let's go to this shirt, which I had forgotten about. It's almost the same. Yeah, same color, but lighter, much lighter tone. I'm using the same color that I mixed for the buttons. So it's the same color, and yet it looks much more purplish, and on the jacket it's more brown. The color, just like the tones, the colors also change their intensity depending on the other color that they are juxtaposed with. The red will appear redder if it is placed with green. So that's why it is called complementary color, because that's what they do. Okay, as I come here to the face, I am going to add some skin tone. When I say I am going to add skin tone, it is just a little bit, not much. when I see those bulging bellies, well, it's not that bulging, but I like to exaggerate, which is not flattering for the sitter. So closer to your eye, I'm going to add more warmer colors to this shirt. Easier to cover the warmer colors first and then add cooler later. All these things are personal experiences. I don't know if it is actually done that way or not. One thing that may be suitable for me may not work for you. Yellow onto that the palette that had a little bit of that spray of skin tone, and adding some yellow, which I have had in yellow with me, and ultramarine blue. So then I'm mixing for the pouch. Okay. And with the dark, I'm going to have a mix of ultramarine blue with alizarin crimson and white. I'm going to mix and leave it on side. So in case I need dark, I don't have to mix it again and again. Well, the couch comparatively is yellowish green. What I see. Beautiful. I'm working on the couch, but actually or it looks like I'm working on the couch. But if I do that, let me add more to her highlight on the sleeve. So now my comment will make more sense. Okay, now which brush? So as I'm working on my couch, I'm actually defining her arm. So focus is more on the arm, and it is goes away. You can leave it. Carefully mark the area, which is defining the arm. I'm going to add more, show some dark. And also, since I need this dark, good. So here I am actually working on the shoulders. So the negative spaces which I'm filling right now are quite important. They are actually part of the object because they're helping the object or the figures. Okay, so how are we going to show that her head is actually leaning on the sofa? The dark around the head would be deeper. So these shadows are going to be deeper. Even if it is only a hint, not too much, not too many strokes. I'm going to repeat that down here and behind his mouth too. And maybe on some forehead. I'm going to keep the same color, although it's a little more creamish toward orange. You may add that orange for the couch, but I'm not adding orange. I don't have it on the palette. And I have not used orange anywhere on my painting, so I'm not going to use it here. I'm only using the same colors, but with less white. For the background, exaggerating the green of the green of the wall. Again, actually marking his forehead. You may leave your stroke carelessly on the other side, but where it is surrounding the figure, be more careful and calculated. The hair is kind of like blending into the background. Using the same colors from the clothes and adding that white, mixing white into it for the here, which is over here, it is quite blended with the background and also the edges. Let it blend. Okay, so I let it blend, but still it's not part of the wall. I'm going to have one stroke to indicate that this belongs to the head and not the wall. Maybe a bit more. Use finger if you want. Okay, let's that's not work. Yeah, actually. Well, I'm going to have a tiny bit of purple here. It's the blended part. Just notice I have to finish the head nose also. So again, the couch outline does not matter that much. One line is enough. Do the separation. Let me get my color out. And out of color. I got a message for the connection. I don't know if you can see me or not. We still need to do her maybe around the lips. The light on her. Yes. The laugh lines are essential here. And even nose. If the tone of the um, teeth and lips are the same, I like to add warmer temperature on the lips because the teeth are behind the lips. So that temperature will bring it up red. I'm looking for a brush that has nice tip. No, this is very calculated and very uh, important point. The edge of the lips. Again, it's not just the end of the lip, but also um, this is defining the shape of the teeth and the angle also. So every one area of the painting coordinates with the other. It's, it has double function. The background is not just the background; it's also, the negative space for your objects, for your figures.
Excuse me, Durre.
Uh-huh.
Your brush, what size and what brand of the brush you use now?
What size of the brush? It's, well, any thinner brush you can get. This one says 2, but I think it is very fine.
Yeah, okay. So what brand or you feel good? I think the small.
I get the cheaper ones.
Oh, okay.
Well, it doesn't matter whichever brand. This is the cheaper one that I got from Hobby Lobby, and especially for the fine point, I keep buying and just throw them away when they spray. Well, if you have any suggestion to make for a brush with finer tip, that would be helpful because I'm still not too sure.
Yeah, that's fine. I search for because the fine points sometimes it's not.
Oh,
sometimes not very strong. Some is too
Right.
soft. Some is too.
Too soft.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. Otherwise, even Walmart, the cheaper brush from Walmart, sometimes they work. But
Yeah,
again, they're not
just keep
too.
trying. Keep trying. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Princeton brushes. They're quite good.
Can I ask you, for
Yeah.
for the background, what you're looking at? Just say you're going to just like that, or you're going to cover full of the background.
Yeah, I will be covered. The background is, again, I'm going to keep the strokes that will help me with the flow. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah. I'm because almost 11. Just say your class may be closed pretty soon, and I just wondering you are going to cover the background more like a reference picture, or you just leave it like that has some blank white.
No, I will not leave the blank white.
Oh, okay.
I will finish it, but see the background, the strokes are going to help me. That would be the function of the background, to keep the flow going.
So yeah, when you say keep the flow running, and the brush stroke you want like a pretty much same direction, or just up to the figure, or up to what you think better look good, or anything you think about that kind of direction?
Right. And I'm also going to use the same colors from the flow in as I go toward the edge.
Yeah, I may ask the another way to ask the questions. Say, how what kind of technique you think can make the stroke look more fluid?
The strokes more the pigment,
I just say, I don't know how I can.
the medium.
No, when you do the background, you say try to make them just say make the flow going, right? So what's in your mind? How?
Oh, it's the direction of your strokes. You know,
Oh,
right.
okay.
Generally speaking, we stay inside the frame, right?
Yeah.
And the flow, when we say it likes it is like a roundish. That's how our eye moves. It doesn't chop the vision, right? It connects points and then it flows in a certain movement, which is
okay.
like dancing.
Yeah, okay. Like a flow, like a dancing, flow like a inside.
Yeah.
Is it up or down or
All time
inside?
dance. I wish I knew how to dance, but I can make my brush do it.
Yeah, I feel your painting. I mean, most of painting you do have that kind of flow going. Very mystery. The line and shoulder. I mean the dark and light and combine.
Suppose now here we have shape, and it might not be there, but I would like to connect that with this one. Even the details like this one, when you add the details, which may seem very unimportant, but make them important by keeping the design going, the flow going like that. So these pillars. So if you are adding this tone here, make sure it is the same one that is carried on to the other side of the arm. Otherwise, it will give the feeling of a collage. Not through and through, but just the other edge. It's so annoying when I leave this white. Don't do that. Don't do what I do. Don't leave that annoying white areas. So now you can, add more detail to the color. The other side of the color. Get rid of this light.
Excuse me, Durre.
It is not as bright as I had. This color was in light. Now this line, bottom line, not much. And detail around his lips as well. Oh, not this brush. See, these brushes. I need to get a nice pointed brush. And this one is better. This one is more like a portrait rather than figures in landscape. Even tiny bit of detail matters a lot when painting a portrait.
Yeah, I feel that way. You had a lot of
It has
detail
to be very calculated and very as close to accurate as you can.
I like you use the word very calculating.
And it's not the color, even the direction of strokes matter a lot. see the face, plane of the face goes this way, so that's where my directions are going. But again, it's a combination of that direction, because you are not just rendering the feature but also showing the direction of light, which might be different angle. You know. Right. It's usually highlights are important, and they do bring all the mood and charm to the painting, but the composition and the flow uh, are the job of darker tones. So it's mostly the dark tone that is creating the composition in your work. So this side of the face is quite blended with the background. The only thing that's separating these two is the dark of the jacket. I'm not dependent on outline, but outline, I do love outlines, not dependent on that. Them, you can use them to create that, to lead the eye to your design, through your design. Again, it all depends on the quality of the line. If it has a variety of thickness and like a calligraphy kind of quality. And where needed, it can also serve as a dark area of your painting. The same line can blend into the dark. This arm is actually okay. It's his arm. Because that So the leg is more coming out toward the audience. I'm going to add some yellow. And the same here. I have gone over the time, I think.
No complaints from us.
Okay. Well, it was more of a portrait, so did more on the details of the features. For any random figure, it's much easier to just show the features or okay, I'm going to add the color of the background into her trouser. And it will make sense when I do the crouch. Okay, let's you can also ask me questions or anything to say.
So the background, maybe after you finish, you post sometimes. I want to see the background. How you?
Yeah, I'm now working on that. That's what I'm mixing.
Oh, okay.
The background and the couch.
Sometimes I feel backgrounds kind of give them a three-dimensional feeling. So kind of I cannot ignore. So I try to see how you deal with that.
Yeah, okay.
Durre?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, you said something and it triggered something, but remember when you were discussing cooking, you can give somebody a recipe, you can tell them the ingredients, you can tell them the exact brands, you can tell them the exact tools, the time to cook and everything. But when it really gets down to it, it's practice. They're not necessarily going to get it right the first time until they figure out the nuance of the stove they're working on and everything. So when you talk about different techniques you use, I don't think you can explain it well enough that we could actually 100% duplicate it, but it just gives us more information when we do our practice.
Yeah. Okay. I do share what I do, and I also keep saying that sometimes it works for me, and it may, but I try not to like. I try to always share it.
No, but it's more than that. It's more like we each have our own basic information in our head. So when you tell us something, it depends how we perceive it based on our existing knowledge. So you could tell 5 people the same exact thing as much as you want, but they won't necessarily interpret the same way. So all they can do is take that information and process it and practice, and it evolves.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Right. That's correct, because we try to see other people, how to perceive things, how their thought processing, and make things
Exactly.
good or convincing, or just some kind of thing like to learn and like to see. And yeah, of course, we could not be the same style, never. Anybody had their own way to think or processing things. Yeah, just
Yeah.
say it's a good to see other and to learn.
I originally cropped that picture because I thought, I'm not doing all that whole body and everything. And I've just been watching you, and I cropped it so it was primarily them, and I'm going to work with that based on what you just showed, but I'm going to do it in pastel.
Oh my God.
Is that
I'm
bad?
so trying to do pastels too.
Well, as I said, I because you did a limited palette, that makes it a little bit easier for me to replicate that. But if I had opens with me, which I don't, I have fluid, which is pretty intense, and it sounds like a lot of work. So, I'll do it like a pastel portrait thing.
So this light, which I will be actually, when you are close to finish, I'm going to take off some of the dark from here, and then I'm going to show this light here on the couch. Yes, it's going to repeat the same light on her sleeve. Oops. Do the mixing, otherwise this happens. Do the mixing well. Take it off. So I'm going to repeat this color that I have used here. It's kind of done. Since it's a portrait, I can give more detail maybe later. But the idea today was to get the expressions and how we can get the expressions, which are pretty much laid here. I'm going to get more dark.
I think the photograph that you've used is really good because the body language also expresses the mood, not just the face. So that's been very interesting.
Yeah, and as I said, the diagonal of that.
Yeah, the diagonal.
Yeah, that added the energy. Done. Yeah. You can share.
Okay.
I'm not going to make this hand too prominent. And let me just take all this. And I like to keep that these strokes here, the light around her, and that's, well, this is it. I'm done. And I'm going to,
I don't know if you can